Welcome to our next episode of the Sink and Swim podcast. I am overjoyed to introduce our guest today, Dr. Laura Ricci, a women's health coach, a doTERRA diamond leader, an intuitive guide, and a survivor who turned her pain into purpose, which we'll be talking about a lot today. She's also a self-declared unicorn sister of mine. We have both declared it. Thank you, Laura, for being here. It's so good to see you and chat with you and just have you here because you're such a great inspiration for so many. And I can't wait to share your story.
It's a pleasure. It is so fun. It's always fun to get to chat with you, Julie. It's like a fun soul sister chat.
I know. And this is such an example of we needed to catch up anyway. And I'm like, great, let's just catch up and record it and let the world see, because part of the premise of this podcast, for me at least, was I just want people to hear the things that we talk about, not necessarily our most private conversations, but when we get to chatting and we get to these deep moments and it's just oh, we should be recording this.
Yes, this is good stuff. This might help somebody.
We need to bottle this up. Dang, I need to put that on a t-shirt and a billboard and share it with the world, because whatever I just said off the cuff was so good, or what you said was so good.
Yeah. This is
okay, so we are self-declared unicorn sisters. And how we met, for the people listening and watching, was in a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Unexpected way. We're both women's health background physical therapists, which neither of us are doing that anymore. So you would think that's the thing that connected us. But actually the thing that connected us was I somehow got referred to reach out to you when I was diagnosed with cancer. But it was actually even after my diagnosis. It was months after, and I found out it was time for me to have surgery. And I remember, I think it was Jessica Drummond who was like, you should really talk to Laura, because she's had umpteen surgeries at this point and is kind of an expert at surgery. I don't know why anyone would want to be an expert at surgery, but here we are. You didn't really sign up for that, but you've made it work for yourself. And we had the best chat. It was in March. It was honestly, I think it was exactly 9 years ago. Maybe today. I'd have to look up the date or something like that. But today's March 13th when we're recording this. And it was right around then that I reached out to you. So, whoa, that's weird.
That's super wild. Got the chills. Woo. Okay.
Happy 9th anniversary of being Unicorn Sisters. This is our world premiere of celebrating that. And you had the best, just beautiful guidance. I still remember two things you told me that have stuck with me and I still use in my regular life now. The first one was more of a logistical, take care of yourself little trick hack. And it was to make smoothies and freeze them in those, what are those things called? The rubbery silicone holder, cupcake holders. Still do that. Love that one. And then the other thing you told me was to write a letter to my cancer. And I remember at the time being what is she saying?
This is getting really woo-woo.
This is getting weird. I thought we were just talking about what to eat and what to wear at the hospital, but now I'm writing a letter to my tumor. Cool. Cool story. But it was such a transformative little, subtle but profound little exercise to do. And now I write letters to lots of inanimate objects and spirits and things all the time. And I let them write a letter back, which is always an interesting thing. So thank you for those nuggets.
That's so cool. That's so profound.
Yeah. Thank you for being a beautiful light on that path of my own. That was a really, really difficult time. And on that note, so speaking of having umpteen surgeries, you yourself have overcome so much cancer. I think it's 18 surgeries now, not umpteen, 18.
I think it's 18. I think so.
I love that you've lost count at this point.
Crazy.
Chronic pain. So seeing, I definitely understand the alchemy in such difficult times and how it really turned into a gift. And I'm curious about you, how or when, when in along those 18 experiences plus chronic pain, you realized that your experiences were shaping you, not breaking you.
Hmm. This is such a good question because when you're in the dark night of the soul, like when you're in that really deep place, I remember telling myself that I was not going to go through all this for nothing. Like I was not going to experience all this in vain, that I was going to take what I was learning through these really hard experiences to help others. And it really didn't come full circle until people started finding me for some of the things that I went through that they were
Yeah.
going to, like at the beginning of their journey. And when I could be the person for them that I wish I would have had for myself, or when I hear people say, okay, I'm no longer afraid because I saw you go through this, or
Hmm.
thank you for telling me that because I needed to hear it. That's when I realized, oh, there's purpose from the pain. There's purpose to the suffering. And if I can help to lessen the load of somebody else's journey, even by just a little bit, then it was worth it. So I kind of went through it with the understanding, because I think sometimes we go through tough stuff, maybe for us, but maybe not. Like maybe
Yeah.
it's other people along the way too. And so it was something that, like hindsight, I could kind of look back, but I just made this agreement with myself when you're in the trenches, when you're on your knees, when you're, sitting on the bathroom floor crying, that something good was going to come out of this. And it's been cool to kind of see that happen even years and years later.
And it's not like you signed up to be like a martyr, like, well, I'm going to go through all this sacrifice and be an inspiration for everybody else. That's what I love about your story is you lead by example, and I think that's such a slippery slope for some people because then they end up like, oh, well, I guess I went through this other thing and now I'm going to share my story about it because everybody else needs to hear it. I think you do it so eloquently and humbly. And it does. I mean, I'm such a great example. I'm like, well, that was helpful. What you went through, I got to learn from it and be inspired by it and feel less afraid. And I think you're so right too about like when you're on the bathroom floor or, in the doctor's office, frozen or whatever it is, you're not thinking, wow, this will be a really inspiring story for someone one day.
No, you're thinking, okay, it feels like my whole life is falling apart. Like I remember thinking, why is this happening to me? Why now?
Yeah.
Why is this happening to me? And I read something that said, why not you? And it really was like, ooh, it hit me in the gut of like, and when I just kind of accept it, like we think that these challenges shouldn't be happening to us. Like we think we shouldn't be having this problem and that's the problem. And when I was just finally able to go like, yeah, why not you? Like I think we all go through challenges
Yeah.
with this. And if we think we shouldn't have them, then we're in this like state of resistance. But if we're like, okay, this is where we are now. Can we just accept that this is where we are now? But it was a lot of mindset work. It took me a while to kind of even be, because I was so resistant and was like, this shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening
Yeah.
right now. Like, yeah,
Why not you?
why
Oh,
not
I
you?
mean, let me take this mic and just drop it because,
And it hit me. And I thought, okay, like, why not you? And that was the first like state of acceptance. This
yeah.
is happening. And you're right, it's almost the stages of grief as you like process
Isn't
getting
it though? Like
information.
you're grieving the life you thought was supposed to happen. And then something comes in, it's like the record scratch, and it's like, wait, hold on. This isn't how it was supposed to go. I feel like
Mm,
there's always a grief in that.
mhm.
And we resist because we don't want to feel the grief. We don't want to be crying on the bathroom floor. I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but it's like in those dark moments where the choice is continue to resist and suffer or accept. Well,
Mm,
we're in it now. What are we going to do with this? And I
mhm.
love that you like made those promises to yourself, like those faithful, gritty promises of this isn't going to be a worthless fight. This
Mhm.
isn't going to be a worthless experience. This is going to lead to something. I have no idea what, but it is going to shape me and bring something good on the other side.
And turned out to be one of the biggest teachers of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like your karmic journey. This is what you were meant to go through in
Mm,
order to receive that beautiful gift on the other side.
100%. And I had to kind of surrender to that and go, um, these things that are coming into my life right now, these experiences, I had to look at it almost as my soul signed up for this because it's happening. And I'm
Yeah.
going to trust that it's going to teach me something and help my soul evolve and learn and be an experience that will ultimately work out for my greater good and help me to become a stronger person, a more empathetic person. And yeah, but this was like deep stuff that happened several years later. I don't think it just hit me all at once. It
It
was,
didn't click on the first surgery.
oh no, no, no.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
insane. I know that you also have experienced chronic pain, and I know would love to hear way more about that and your role on that, because that's not just a one and done surgery. We're doing the thing and now we're healing. It's a constant. Why is this here? What is happening? It's like literally the low hum and or loud hum in the background at all times. So I wonder how that approach, that mindset, that my soul signed up for this, I wonder how that has evolved with chronic pain as well.
It's interesting with the chronic pain piece. And so my very first surgery was when I was 2 and I had an emergency appendectomy because my appendix had ruptured 3 days
Yeah.
before they figured it out. And looking back, I was so young to even verbalize what was happening to me. I was in the hospital for a week. I was on IV antibiotics. I had drains coming out of me. It was a whole thing. And I think that little 2-year-old girl was feeling very unsafe in her body, in the
Sure,
environment,
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
all of these things. And it's funny how I even came across like learning about neuroplastic pain and some of these things because as a doctor of PT, like we both are, um, I was never taught about neuroplastic pain in PT school or TMS, tension myositis syndrome, or
Mhm.
any of these things. We were taught that pain is perceived in the brain,
Yeah.
yes, and we were taught about some of these different things, but not really that you could retrain the brain, maybe a little bit of neuroplasticity, but it was very much based on treat the physical body.
Yeah.
Like, find the things, do the things, treat the physical body. Maybe a little touch here and there about like the biopsychosocial model, but it was kind of brushed over and was and that
Well, you're a physical therapist. It's not in your scope, it's not your lane. Like, you can
yes.
know about these things, biopsychosocial, those all contribute to pain and pain contributes to those, but it's not your lane to really dip into that because now you're out of scope, you're being doing psychotherapy when you're not supposed to. So, like, I get it. And also, thankfully, the profession has evolved a little bit. But yeah, but
Yes.
you and I, when we were practicing too, that wasn't really like the thing, you know?
No, that was not the thing. And I can look back in my life and even through childhood having stomach pain and stomach issues that nobody could explain. I
Yeah.
was taking Tums after every meal because like my stomach just always hurt. And then fast forward, I'm having periods, like extremely painful periods. It was really, really rough. And I was just like, oh, and then dealing with daily headaches. Daily headaches started popping up. And then pelvic pain started popping up, SI pain. And then was diagnosed with hip dysplasia. We had hip issues and chronic Lyme and high Epstein-Barr virus and food sensitivities and all of these things. And it just seemed like, what the heck, autoimmune stuff, Hashimoto's, like it got really heavy. And I was like, what in the world? And so I
Yeah.
really went the Western medicine approach for a long time, wasn't getting anywhere. Went the functional medicine approach. Then I dove real deep into that and food sensitivities and went gluten, dairy, and sugar free for 10 years and all of these things. And it was actually a functional medicine doc who told me to download the Curable app. And I started listening
Mm.
to it. I started listening to these things, and I was kind of like, okay, that's nice, sure. And it kept mentioning this book, The Way Out by Alan Gordon. It was like, if you want to learn more, read The Way Out. And it kept popping up enough times that I thought, I'll just read this book. So I got it on Audible and listened to it. And it changed the way that I look at chronic pain, even just learning about neuroplastic pain, how it refers to pain that originates from the brain and your nervous system rather than a direct physical injury or tissue
Yeah.
injury. But your brain kind of makes this mistake. It's like a little glitch. It's interpreting it as this learned neural pathway and it could be related to past injuries or chronic stress or trauma or emotional factors, like all of these things. But basically, the brain's kind of on overdrive and making this glitch and still sending out this pain signal, even though the tissues have healed, and that we can rewire and change this. And that was huge to just learn about that. And at first, it pissed me off. I was like, you're saying
No
it in my
kidding.
head. No, 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 no. And the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. And and then it said, no, your pain is real. We can do a functional MRI of your brain, and people in chronic pain, their brain lights up like a Christmas tree in a very
Yeah.
different way than other people. Um, but it made sense that I was treating the physical body for years, and it only got me so far. And then when I started doing this work with the nervous system and working to calm it down, it helped. And there was a profound moment when it was talking about characteristic traits of people who have neuroplastic pain. And it's like perfectionism and people pleasing and high anxiety, or you're just hyper vigilant. We're the people that leave our phone number twice on the voice message because we want to make sure that you
Hey.
like, there's suppressed emotions that can happen. We're very self-critical. We have a very strong sense of responsibility. We have a tendency towards overachieving or high achiever. We want to be thought as good people. And I read this list of traits and went, oh my gosh. And it's not that these traits cause pain, but they can create an overactive nervous system.
Exactly.
And the good news is, like, we can learn some self-compassion. We can start setting some boundaries. We can start to process these emotional things. We can start to rewire. But it was so profound because it flipped everything on its head for me of like, what if this isn't chronic Lyme disease? What if this is neuroplastic pain? What if I can eat gluten and my body doesn't freak out? And I started like testing these things. I had told myself the story that every time I travel, I'm going to get a migraine. Every time
Right.
the weather changes. And when learning about this, and it was like, no, it's just neuroplastic pain. I had to retrain all my beliefs around that, but it was so profound. And as my chronic pain started going down, now I will say this, I had to get to the end of my rope. And the end of my rope was doing everything I could functional medicine wise, seeing multiple doctors, supplements, all the things. Western medicine, going to a headache clinic for almost 3 years, trying every medication, everything. And they were like, you need a migraine surgery. And then getting a consult for that and being told insurance isn't going to cover it. And I was at the end of my rope and
Mm-hmm.
was finally open to even introducing this or playing with this and going, okay, what do I have to lose? And what was so fascinating was once the chronic pain, which initially was migraines, as you start to do this work, and I just prepare people for it because I didn't know, that calms down. And then old things start to pop up and move around. It's called the symptom imperative. So like a really, really old, like knee discomfort is popping up. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And it's moving around, which is actually a really good thing because you've got the pain on the run. So you just like go with it. And then I started to notice, I think I have anxiety. Like when the chronic pain stuff calmed down, emotional stuff surfaced.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
like, ooh. And I was like, I think I have depression. I think I have, like, you start to
Mm-hmm.
feel things deeply. It's almost like this emotional big thing. And that's when you know you're like in the center.
Yeah.
You're just pulling back layers, and it continues to get better. But it's been such a transformative thing and something that I don't think Western medicine, even functional medicine's talking about a lot. So I want to tell people, like, maybe just read up on it. Maybe see if this resonates. The book is so good because he has a funny sense of humor to it too. I think you have to keep some, like, chronic pain gets really heavy, so we have to
Oh,
keep
absolutely.
conversation
Yes.
a little bit lighter. But I've had chronic anxiety for a long time,
Yeah.
insomnia. All of these things are healing. All of these things are improving. And it was just like, whoa. Like, for years of not remembering my dreams, I'm finally starting to dream again. I'm finally starting to remember my dreams. Like, amazing things happen when we can calm down our nervous system and retrain the brain a little bit. It's kind of crazy.
You basically just stated the premise of this podcast without me asking you to. Thank you for that. Didn't pay her to say all that. But what I hear is, we have all these layers and they get piled and piled and piled and piled. And it was on the surface presenting as chronic pain, like physical pain. Your brain is telling you my back hurts, my hips hurts, my knee hurts, my whatever, my head hurts. And it's real, like it's very real. And that's the experience you're having. And as you, instead of like piling on supplement and this and diet and things to make the pain go away, it sounds like instead you're sinking deeply into it
Mm-hmm.
and asking what it's here to teach you, much like your surgeries. Wait, why not me? What is this here to teach me? And actually letting the pain speak for itself and tell you, it's like it's almost painted this map of all the way back to that 2-year-old version of you who was terrified and no doubt was probably wired to be more anxious, like
Mm-hmm.
neurospicy, like just that depth of human experience and feeling, like, and then it was a ripe circumstance that like set off that boulder rolling down the hill, and that boulder eventually got buried beneath smile and be happy, and you're
Just
supposed to
creating
be
celebration.
kind. Every piece of conditioning we all get, work hard, and eventually it just starts to, you're at the end of your train track. And it's like, wait, I have tried everything. And you did. I mean, literally, you're the poster child for like how to do it right. If you're just listening to the audio, we're doing air quotes when I say how to do it right. And like, it wasn't right for you. Maybe it's right for someone else, but it wasn't right for you. And by the grace of all that is divine, you kept hearing about this book. And it was sort of the portal to open you to the truth, which pissed you off and now is setting you free. And it's like the premise of the podcast is we sink deep, and it's in those deep, dark moments that we find, usually in unexpected places, the power and the like support, the actual support to rise and swim. So
Mm.
instead of sink or swim, like, oh, I have to avoid sinking, I have to avoid failing, I have to avoid whatever, losing my identity, like all those things we were talking about, like trying to avoid the grieving so that I can keep swimming, you actually sink. You actually voluntarily sink, which is what you did, which is so brave. Because it's not like it's easy work.
Mm-mm. No,
It's not the easy
it's
way out.
facing your dragons. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen the movie How to Train a Dragon, like the first one?
Yes.
I feel like that's such a spiritual movie, but
Really is.
he's everybody's saying like we need to kill these dragons, they're bad, and he was like, no, um, and he was kind of afraid of them, but he was like, when I looked into his eyes, like I saw myself, and that's how I see like fear or chronic pain or these things. And there's this moment where he like turns away, but he kind of like reaches his hand out, and the dragon kind of like just touches his hand, and it's like so cool and so profound. And I was thinking, this is like the chronic pain journey, because we really have to like lean into the pain and look at it and just sit with it and not judge it and make it our friend. Like, your symptoms are not your enemy, even though that's what it feels like. And because we're thinking we have pain, something's wrong. And we go down the thing of like, figure it out. Da, 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 da. Did I eat something? Did I lift funny? Did I do? And it's just like actually just leaning in and just letting it have a seat at the table. And the more that we can just, instead of just trying to keep running away or pushing it away, it's like, okay, maybe I'll reach out and kind of touch it. Maybe I'll be brave. And that's what so much of this is, but it's hard. It's challenging work.
It's hard and it's woo, bringing it back. I mean, it's like when we had that conversation 9 years ago, it's before you stumbled on neuroplastic pain. You were still very much in the, let's eliminate the gluten and the things.
Mhm.
Right? And what's interesting is it's like you were almost ahead of your time in the whole write your tumor a letter.
Mm.
And then, I figured out let it right back. It's like having a conversation with the pain and really listening to what it's here to teach you, but also writing a letter to it as if it is a person, as if it has a soul, as if it's the dragon that you can see yourself in. Um, it's a little foreshadowing for your neuroplastic pain
Yeah,
journey. I love that.
it really is.
Mm.
That's a cool
I love
insight.
this part of storytelling because sometimes it's like, oh, you were there. You were. Isn't that the truth though? We're always like right there and it's like right in front of us. I think I remember reading the pathway between the head and the heart is like 7 millimeters or something like that. The distance
Mm.
between the head and the heart is 7 millimeters. I can't remember where I read that, but it's like we're right there and it's right in front of us. But a lot of times we don't see it until we were meant to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All in
That's
perfect timing. Amazing. Okay. The other thing that you've done, which I think is so cool, it's so cool. Especially for someone who's had 18 surgeries, so many of which are like musculoskeletal and having to do with like your core, your belly. Um, and there's so much chatter out there about like um, certain types of exercise that will make that worse, especially like in the PT world. That's a very controversial topic. I love watching your strength training journey.
Mm.
Tell us about that and like how's it going?
Oh man. Um, it's been one of the biggest healing things besides learning about neuroplastic pain. They kind of go hand in hand in my book
Yeah.
because I didn't realize how much I needed to start feeling strong in my body again after feeling broken. After multiple surgeries and being told all the things, right? I was told you'll never do sit up, you'll never do
Yeah.
crunch and you'll never do like all of these things, right? And um it helped me feeling strong in my body physically, helped me to feel strong in my body mentally. And it built a confidence within me in so many ways to face fears, to one, just show up at the gym where I think a lot of women were not taught, we're not brought to the gym at a young
Mhm.
age. We really like, we feel a little bit like a fish out of water, or we feel like I just need to hang out on the cardio equipment because that's where all the women are. And we don't see a lot of women in the weightlifting section doing stuff like that. And just learning how to take up space in the gym and feel powerful again. And I was not an athlete. I was a band nerd. I was a super nerd. Like I was not, I had was chosen last for all the, little
Right.
elementary school. I have trauma from EE and all these things. And it was powerful for me to start lifting. And you can see the whole journey on Instagram if you want. I have highlights called Stronger. So you
Mhm.
can see day one of me walking into the gym and not knowing what the hell I was doing. And gradually getting stronger to doing my first pull up to now being able to deadlift 210 pounds. My goal was always to be able to
Woo.
deadlift my husband. I just thought that was fun. Like, oh, it'd be really cool. And he's like 180 pounds. And so then when we hit that, I was like, well, I want to deadlift a big man, like I want
Yeah,
to
right.
let's keep going. And there's just something so profound about it. Besides all of the health benefits, like I really feel like women, just for our overall health, your mental health, your hormones, your bone health, like getting more muscle mass on your body. And there's something really rebellious about it. It
Mhm.
as women we're taught to be small and be quiet and shrink down. And there's something really cool about like working on getting big and being seen and taking up space.
Gosh. Okay. 3 things you said that I love and want to reflect back. The first one being you felt like in order to like regain your strength, you needed to feel strength in your body to also feel safe in your body. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if those were your exact words, but that's what I heard. And what I love about it is we were just talking about the sinking phase where it's almost the deconstructing phase, like pulling apart the layers and putting all the layers out on the table. And when you clear out one, here comes another one. That's sort of the destruction part of the phase. And then the construction, the like reconstruction part of the phase, you're doing both physically in the gym, but you're also doing it mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it reminds me from the book The Alchemist. Have you read The Alchemist?
Yes, it's been a while, but yes.
For listeners who haven't read it, there's a scene where, well, the whole book is the shepherd boy is going on a very similar spiritual journey, ups, downs, ups, downs, up, downs, up, downs. And he stumbles upon this crystal shop in I think it was Tangier in Africa. And he's has no money, he needs work, he needs food, he's desperate for, love, all the types of things. And he walks in and volunteers to clean the glasses of the crystal shop in exchange for food. The merchant who ran the crystal shop said, "Yes, of course, you can clean the glasses." And he gives him food. And later, he said, "I would have given you food anyway, because the Quran, his religion, commanded him to help someone in need." And the shepherd boy was like, "Well, then why did you let me clean the glasses?" And he said, "By cleansing the glasses, you were cleansing your soul."
Mm.
And I feel like your story of by strengthening, my outer shell, it's the alchemy of also strengthening my inner shell.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many routes to strength. I mean, you are doing all of them because that's who you are. And sometimes, we really underestimate the power of healing on the physical, and that actually heals on the soul and emotional level, and the vice versa of that, healing on the soul and emotional level, and that also heals the physical. Um, and I think that you've really struck a really beautiful like ebb and flow of that and like alchemy of that. Beautiful.
I love that. That's such a beautiful way of stating that. Yeah.
And like the whole thread about being women and taking up space. Yes. Because
Yes.
I feel like, I mean, yes, women do resist strength training because we don't want to look bulky, we don't want to look manly, it's not feminine. But it reminds me of your question, why not you? Like, why not look bulky? And why does it have to be manly? Why can't we just say strong?
Yes. And that toned look that everybody gets is lifting heavy. Like women, we don't make as much testosterone as men. You're not going to get bulky. Believe me, I've been working
Right,
really, really hard for over 3 years to try to put muscle mass on my body, and nobody's thinking that I'm the Hulk. I
right.
definitely don't look like the Hulk. So when people say
No,
that to me, I'm like, don't worry, we're good.
it's going to be okay. When I was in Hawaii, I went to this gym. It's like a year and a half ago while I was visiting because I wanted to keep my lifting routine going. And I just remember looking around, like your picture was perfect. All the women were on the weight machines. The like kind of nothing wrong with weight machines, by the way, for anyone who's listening. They're great. They get a lot of beautiful benefits for your body. But it was sort of like it's set up for you. You get to kind of hide behind the machine. Like I was looking at it on a more energetic level. Not one woman. I was the only woman standing in the free weights area.
Mm.
It was all big dudes hanging out,
Mhm.
staring at me.
Mhm.
And I just remember like putting my AirPods in, playing some Taylor Swift, and being like, this is actually really intimidating. Like I can actually feel all the eyes on me. And thank goodness I do have an athletic background. I do know what I'm doing, and like, thank goodness I grew up in a sport that actually had me weightlifting around guys. And it doesn't actually faze me, but I can still feel everyone looking at me. I can
Mm-hmm.
feel the women looking at me. And I just kind of like, hung out with Shake It Off playing in my ears and was like, wow, this is actually so telling to why so many women don't lift weights.
Yes, it's
I can
uncomfortable.
feel it.
You can feel it. And can I give a tip for anybody who's watching? This has been so profound for me. Like when you go
Yeah.
into the gym, here's how to find a safe person or not a safe person. It's really easy. If you watch the guys in the gym, they do the gym bro nod. It's this chin tuck down, chin tilt down.
The Jimbo
And
nod.
we kind of, if we see somebody that we know, if you watch guys do this and they know the guy, they go chin up. What's up? What's up? Hey, bro. Like head up, head up. And if they don't know somebody, but they see him and they just want to acknowledge them, they do the tuck down. And that's kind of a respect thing. They'll look at them in the eye and go tuck down. So this is what I do with everybody, guys and girls. But it's fascinating to just kind of be able to see if I see somebody and I walk by them, I'll look them in the eye and I'll do the chin tuck down. And if
Uh-huh.
they near me and they do it back to me, I know, okay, like that's a respect nod. I feel like this is somebody who gets it. Like if you needed help, if you needed to ask questions, something like that, I could ask that person. But if they ignore me or look away, I know, not my person.
Or like the flirtatious smile almost
Yeah.
like I don't know how to describe it except for I feel minimized when I get it. Like,
Yes. If you feel and trust your gut, right? You just said it
yeah.
so beautifully. Like, I feel minimized. And you're like, like, yeah, just
That's
so
not what I
those are
was
people
doing.
that we just step away from. We just leave them alone. Yeah. And it's been so powerful to just kind of play with that and use that as a marker. Um, and I think so much of it is like reclaiming our space and creating a safe space for us in the gym. And so I love that you just went over there and took up your space and was like, okay, and we can do hard
Yeah.
things and even do it when we're feeling uncomfortable. And that's how we retrain the brain that we deserve to be here.
Yeah. All right. Laura Ricci revolutionizing the gym for women everywhere with the gym bro nod. Can we call it the gym girl nod? Can we like
I
rephrase that?
like
Or
that.
just the gym
Yeah.
nod? Like take the gender out of it.
It's a
The
nice
gym
little
nod.
test. It's just
Gym pal.
yeah, it's like a little barometer test. You can kind of test the waters a little bit.
So good. Okay. All right. So on this topic of like strengthening the spirit and strengthening the body and all of those types of things, I think one thing that's really, really interesting about you, that I know about you and people may not know about you, although we have alluded to it in talking about the woo,
Hmm.
are your exceptional traits, we'll call them, which maybe are or are not on that list of people with neuroplastic pain traits. Um, just very beautiful, intuitive, and empathic abilities. And before I even get into that, what reminded me to ask you about that and to bring this up, I was putting on my lipstick before I was recording this today. And as I was putting it on, of course, I was thinking of you because I was interviewing you, but I was thinking of you because I know that you have a lipstick ritual that connects to someone who's no longer living. And part of that ritual is really beautiful. And part of that ritual, I think, really conveys your beautiful spiritual, intuitive, and like empathic gifts. So tell us about the ritual and tell us a little bit about those gifts.
Yes. So growing up, my grandmother would always put lipstick on before she left the house. It was a thing. And she keeps lipstick in her purse, but has it there. And if we were getting ready to leave, she would put a lip on, and then we could leave the house. And it just always reminds me of her, makes me smile. And my grandmother, who has since passed, I've kind of continued with that tradition. And so before I leave the house, even if I'm just going to the gym, people will laugh at me and say, why are you wearing lipstick to the gym? I'm like, why not? Lipstick and lifting, it's fine. Like we can go and get strong, and you can be a beauty and a beast, by the way, with that. But there's just something about it. And so I put it on. I'm just like, hey, grandma, like, hi. It's like kind of our moment to connect. And I also think there's just something about putting a lip on too that just I don't know, kind of brightens your day, kind of peps you up a little bit. Even after surgery, when you're not feeling well, there was something about being able to just take a shower or even just put a little lipstick on that just kind of changed my mood a little bit. And so it's been a powerful tool, if you will.
Well, first of all, I love this story about your grandma. And I love that you feel such an intuitive and like spiritual connection to her. Again, through like this like seemingly small physical lipstick thing, but it's so much deeper than that, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious with like your spirituality and your intuition, which is incredibly keen and strong and ripe for just picking up on things around you, how you stay grounded with that, especially like picking up on other people's energy and how you use that to mentor and lead other people.
Hmm. I often ask myself, is this mine or someone else's? Like at first I just have to get clear. Like if I'm feeling something, I'm like, okay, is this me or is this not me? And that's kind of helpful too for being able to just kind of understand boundaries with things.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we don't carry around other people's stuff with
Yeah.
this. Um, so bringing that up regularly, asking that. Movement is huge to help me ground. So walking, especially walking outside, weightlifting, it just helps me to kind of clear the energy, like clear kind of that day. I really am a big fan of music to kind of clear energy as well as essential oils. And I just
Hashtag move it Monday.
yeah, hashtag movement, dancing, all the things because it anchors in and it just can kind of help to calm the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
There's two oils in particular that I'll go to if I'm just feeling like stressed or overwhelmed or I want to decrease my cortisol levels. One is Shinrin Yoku. It's the Japanese forest blend. It's like smells like walking around in a magical forest.
Mm.
And Adaptive, which is specifically designed to kind of help with stress and overwhelm. If you feel like you're picking up on other people's energy, tea tree and put a little bit kind of the base of the skull, top of the head, over your pulse points, and that'll just kind of clear it. I really like that, especially for practitioners who are working one on one with people throughout the day. Just put a little tea tree on to kind of clear in
Mm.
between patients and people that you're working with or your clients. But I love diffusing oils. I think the more that I can pull in my senses, so diffusing something yummy, having some calming music, making a cup of tea, a warm blanket, fuzzy slippers, the more things that I can do that bring joy and fun into my life. I love a good Epsom salt bath. I think salt
Same.
baths really, really important, especially for sensitive people. Throw some essential oils into the salts and then throw them into the bath water. Can be really relaxing and just good for the soul. And I've had to set boundaries around technology, getting off
Yeah.
social media, setting limits. I set my phone up to where at 8 p.m., whoop, like I can't access social media or email or any of those things until 8 a.m. the next day. So it just blocks me off to protect me from myself. And it's been such a good thing. Setting boundaries around even my work, having working office hours and not responding to messages after office hours and waiting until the next day has been really, really powerful. Also, doing rest breaks throughout the day, whether that's just taking a couple deep breaths or applying an oil or doing a short little meditation. I find that I need to have pauses throughout the day to just reset and regulate my nervous system. And I
Yeah.
love somatic exercises. So something as simple as just tapping the chest.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really powerful. I love a good ear massage, especially with an essential oil, like lovely shaking. Even if I
Shaking is
just
a
need to
big one for
shake off,
me.
like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and journaling. I resisted journaling for a very long time. And then finally became more open to it and have found it's super helpful in therapy. Like I am
Yeah.
a huge believer of
Yep.
therapy.
It's so like beautiful that these, things that at one point were the thing you thought you had to do, to heal yourself. And now it's fun and joyful. Oh, it
Hmm.
just brings fun and joy. Speaking of alchemy, like it's just kind of like, oh, wow. It just feels good and it's grounding to put some oils on the base of my neck. And it's obviously energetically supportive too, especially when you work with other people or you're picking up on other people's energy. But it doesn't sound like it's this like prescriptive list of things that you do. You just intuit it and you're like, I just know that's what I need right now. It probably doesn't look the same from day to day, you know? And that's such a beautiful thing. Now, you mentioned essential oils. As I sit here with my beautiful roller, which was gifted to me by a mentor of mine. Tell me about, I know that you are way up the leadership ladder with doTERRA, essential oil company. And you've been doing that for a long time now. Tell me about that journey for you. Like, what has that been like? And I have some follow-up questions to that, but I'll get to those in a second. So what has it been like?
The funny thing about all of this to me is I didn't seek out this work found me. In
Mm,
fact, when I started with essential oils, I was super skeptical as a doctor of physical therapy. This was over 10 years ago
right.
when I found the oils and really thought, well, just try it and cross it off my list and then move on. And I started with 2 oils, and it's funny because, right, they're not gonna work. So, I'll just try it. And one is Serenity, which is kind of a very calming oil, and one is Wintergreen, which, it has a similar chemical constituent methyl salicylate to, Advil, so it's one of those
Mm-hmm.
oils that we can use for, like, nerve pain or discomfort or things, but emotionally, it's the oil of surrender. And I started playing with these 2 oils, very, very skeptical, and went, "Huh, I feel different when I use these," and thought, "That is placebo. That's placebo effect, great. Okay." But it was enough that got me diving into PubMed, the nerdy researcher in me, to start researching the validity of essential oils and finding thousands of research articles
Mm-hmm.
and going, huh, there's something to this. And then going as a physical therapist, we see so many patients that are addicted to pain meds and opioids and dealing with the side effects of all of that. And I thought, if there's something safe that we can use as a tool, why isn't nobody talking about this? Why wasn't I taught about this in PT school? What this is really interesting. And so I was the very reluctant person, in fact, who swore I would never ever do this. I would never sell essential oils. I felt like selling something was very like, "Ugh," like
Right.
used car salesmanish, like that's not me. And it just kind of came in where people started asking me questions and I slowly started teaching more about it and it started growing and evolving. And it was also at a time in my life where I couldn't work for a year as a physical therapist because I had a very large reconstructive abdominal surgery
Mm-hmm.
after the tumor. And I went through my own identity crisis of who am I if I'm not Dr. Laura Ritchie? Who am I if I'm not a physical therapist? I went to school and paid so much money, worked really, really hard for all of this. And I couldn't let go of that identity. But what I found was working from home was transformative for me to make my own schedule, to have complete control of my schedule for the first time in my life. And I love educating. I love connecting with people. What I didn't like was the insurance telling me that I could only do this or that, or they were decreasing my treatment times with patients or this or that. And I kind of found it felt home. It felt good
Mm-hmm.
to be able to serve people well and support. And I do it on social media. So I felt like I could support more people than what I could see time wise in the clinic without burning out, without sacrificing my health at the same time. And I liked that I was a guide for people and people were finding me. You know, sometimes people are kind of forced into physical therapy and they don't really want to be there and they don't want to see you and they don't want to take any responsibility. You know, they're kind of like, look, you get me better seeing you twice a week and I'm doing nothing. I don't want to do exercise. I don't want to do anything at home. And I'm kind of like, okay, this isn't going to go well.
No.
But people were seeking me out as a guide. And it was like I could connect them with oils and tools and things. Um, and it was like connecting with a soul sister. It was like finding a friend. It was really cool. Just the community and all of that. And I came to the world of essential oils for physical pain because I my chronic pain journey. But what I found was they became my favorite tool to help process emotional stuff. And so, whereas before I would be grabbing an oil for like physical, and we have some like tools for that. But
Yeah.
now I'm like, but what is that? Is it maybe need to process some anger? Maybe you need to process this thing. And so I could use a tool like an oil to kind of help emotionally with anger versus like put some deep blue on or do both. Like you can just, it's a tool. So the way that I used it kind of evolved. And I just have to laugh because if you would have told me 10 years ago that you're going to sell essential oils and be a leader in the company and all this, I would have been like, you're crazy. That's never ever going to happen. But what I found was doing this work as you help other people heal, you heal. Like when you give, you will always receive. And I've made the deepest connections, deepest friendships, have the most beautiful oil clients and customers. But it pushed me out of my comfort zone in a lot of ways. In public speaking, I hated speaking. And that kind of forced me into that. Travel, I was very terrified of travel, even international travel. I've been to, because of where doTERRA sources their oils all over the world, I've been to Kenya, I've been to Prague, I've been to Bulgaria. New opportunities opened. And now I feel at home on the stage, but I didn't start there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of been this, I'm just very humbled for the work, for the people that I get to do for the company. I love the heart of the company of there's a lot of humanitarian work. There's a lot of giving back. There's a lot of connecting with the farmers and the people. And I believe that what you do is an energetic ripple. And so I like being a part of something that not only helps people and I get to help my clients, but has a ripple effect around the world with that too.
It's really
And
cool.
that's powerful. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's funny how it evolves because I never ever thought that this would be where we are.
Totally unexpected. I mean, I'm totally with you in that it's how we met was in a very unexpected way. It's how you found this beautiful pathway for yourself. I love that the way you got into the pathway was with the oils for like calm and surrender. And I love that your initial response was, "Oh, it's the placebo effect." Like that right there is such a beautiful picture of what we were talking about at the very beginning of like resist, 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 and sink. And now we're sinking and letting go. And like, it's such a beautiful thing. And I totally get you. I mean, there's so many stigmas around essential oils and that kind of company and this and that. And I think you're such a beautiful example of, but it's not always what you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what you think it is. Like, you're not the face of that type of person that most people think are the type of person like sliding into your DMs and being like, "Hey girl, haven't talked to you since elementary school, but I was just like eyeing your profile and thought you should, you would really benefit from this thing I'm selling." Like gross, right? Like that's
Super.
not it. I've experienced that, side of or the not that side of doTERRA with you, and it's been wonderful. Nothing short of wonderful,
Yeah.
Um, and how cool that it also brought you out of your comfort zone in so many ways that you never would have done perhaps without it.
It's made me a better person. I've evolved and grown in a lot of ways that I don't think would have happened if I would have stayed in the career of physical therapy. Not that there's anything wrong with being a physical therapist, but for me, it felt like I was dying, and I think my body was literally like, "Get out! Okay, you're not listening. Here's a cancerous tumor." Whoop. Like,
Same. That was my way out as well. Yeah.
so you can just kind of tell if the work that you're doing is filling your soul or if it's crushing it. And
Mm.
I wasn't at the place where I could even acknowledge because my identity was so far wrapped up into it. I was clinging so hard to it that I think my body was just like, okay, she's not listening. So let's just knock her over the head with this thing.
And this lights you up and it fuels you. And
Yeah.
isn't that what we all want? Isn't that what we're all designed to do? So who are you not to? There it is again. Who are you
Mm,
not to do this? Oh, there's another part of your story that, speaking of like forgiveness and letting go and surrender, I think that I think is so beautiful. on that thread with like, as you've been healing the chronic pain and growing in your professional world, a completely different professional world that you ever intended to be in, of forgiveness and of really learning about how that you've had invitations for that in places you might have never expected. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Hmm. It's another thing that I resisted for a really, really, really long time. And I had heard a quote on Instagram that said, "Forgiveness is giving up your demand for a better past."
Mm.
And that stuck with me deeply and it kind of set me off on this journey of learning about forgiveness, not from a religious perspective, but
Yeah.
more kind of from a spiritual healing perspective. And again, letting go of the idea that the past should have unfolded this way, it should have looked this way, or having pain or having regret and just being hyper fixated on that. Because realizing that holding on to that demand is just keeping me stuck. And holding on to the anger of like the people that I felt like had wronged me
Mm-hmm.
was exhausting me. I was just tired to like carry that around all the time. And I'm still connected to them energetically if I'm
Still giving them power.
all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So I think it's really important that we talk about forgiveness doesn't mean excusing the harm that was done or for like, in fact, forgiving somebody almost validates what happened and that you were wronged because we don't just forgive people who didn't do anything to us. So just the act that you're even open to, for a long time I wasn't. So I just started saying I'm open to forgiveness or I'm willing to forgive. Like I didn't even feel like I could actually do the thing, but I would just say that for a while. But I realized it frees the emotional weight that the past is holding on to us and allowing us to move forward without being trapped in that heavy energy and old wounds. And it's a process. It's like grief. I think people think that one day they're going to wake up and have this magical transformational moment and they're going to forgive everything and everything's great. Forgiveness is a choice. And it's a choice you make every single day. And it's a choice you make for yourself,
Yeah.
for no one else. And I really feel like a lot of health issues, a lot of autoimmune issues um, stem back to releasing deep anger or trauma or rage and forgiving.
Yeah. I agree.
And maybe not always like, yeah, maybe there's somebody else that we need to forgive, but like I find that the hardest person to forgive is ourselves for allowing that to come in, for putting up with that garbage for so long, for like a lot of that. So there was like the more that I see in healing is that self compassion is the way through. Having deep compassion for ourselves and our process and our journey.
Yeah.
And it took me a long, long time to even be open to this, but it's been very freeing in a lot of ways.
I love what you said about forgiveness. Well, first of all, the Instagram quote, like letting go of the need for the past to be different. That's totally what it is. I mean, there's totally this replaying of the situation or the experience with someone or something or some disease or whatever it is. And it's you on the other side of it now. Like you've gone from crying in the bathroom to now on the other side of the story, again, taking a look at the situation, writing a letter to it, letting it write a letter back, and moving from needing it to have been different to accepting it for what it was and accepting you for who you were in that process with it. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. And having so much compassion for yourself because you were doing the best you could with the
Yeah.
information that you had in that moment. That's all we can do.
Yeah. I think one of the most toxic things we can do to ourselves without meaning to, it's a well meaning thing, is to use our wisdom from today to describe, judge, or rank how we acted in the past. It's like being the quarterback, using the quarterback from the future to try and change or morph or shape who we were in the past. And you just can't do that. You can only learn.
And I would almost argue that it's because of who you were in the past, like because of that person's bravery, because of their failing forward, because of the hard stuff that they had to face. You are who you are now.
Yeah.
So can you, um, I always kind of look back to my past self with like so much compassion and so much grace and be like, man, because of your bravery, I'm here. Thank you. And look at us now. Wow, because you did that big scary thing, because you went through one of the hardest seasons of your life, look where we are now.
It's kind of like looking back at your fourth grade self who was learning, I don't know, long division or something. And now, here in the future, you know calculus. And you look back at your fourth grade self and you're like, how dare you, make that mistake in math class because you should have known because we know calculus now.
Mhm.
And now you're saying, well, I could only have learned calculus if I knew long division. I don't actually remember if you need long division in calculus. Do you? I don't know. That
No,
was a long time ago in my life.
it sounds beautiful to me. Yes.
Sure. Let's just go with the metaphor. But I think that for a lot of us, sometimes we do need these like little bit more tangible metaphors on human nature, on like when we look back at ourselves and shame ourselves or blame ourselves for getting stuck in a situation with someone or a toxic job or whatever it is. And it's like, well, I love what you said. It's like, well, you wouldn't be here with the wisdom to shame yourself if you hadn't been in it in the first place.
Mhm. And there's some
So,
things we can only learn by experiencing them.
yeah,
Yeah. You can
I
read
feel
about it,
like
you can watch somebody else all day long, but until you actually go through that journey, it's different.
both of our past selves are sitting there singing the song from Moana. What can I say except you're welcome? Like we should be thanking them. Thank you. But that's a really humbling, like you said, self-compassionate practice. And sometimes you resist it, and you resist it by putting the anger or the blame on someone else or yourself until finally it's okay, let's let go of needing the past to be different. And let's just be
Mm,
here in the present and love ourselves for doing the very best we could
yeah.
and be thankful for the wisdom gained from it.
Yeah.
Won't do it again. Oh, so good. All right. Shifting from forgiveness and these deeper topics, what do you do for fun?
I love this so much. I love to sing, I love to dance, I love spending time in nature and being outside. Lately I'm playing with, so there was something that I learned that regarding chronic pain, that we need to play for 4 to 5 hours a week. Something fun, something non-productive. Learn a new habit, learn a new craft or something. So lately I've been playing with leatherworking, which is really fun and you get to hit like a hammer, like a mallet. And so that's really good for like processing emotions and things. But you get to
Brilliant.
make something fun, like a little coaster, a little keychain or something. So that's kind of my new fun, um, just for joy, just to create something, just to play a little bit.
Leatherworking sounds very Texas. I never would have thought of that. It
Yeah,
seems like
and
a very
there's
Texan thing to
like
do.
smelling the leather,
Yeah.
reminds me of my grandmother, but also my dad. My dad did a lot of leather working when we were kids. So there's just something about it that just kind of, I don't know, it speaks to me.
So cool. And I mentioned this already, hashtag Move It Monday. Laura and her husband do the most amazing, hilarious, inspiring dance routines on Instagram. So go follow Dr. Laura Ricci and see both Laura and Mark doing their thing.
It's fun.
Bust in a groove. If you're having a rough day, that is the thing to go watch for sure. Even if you're not having a rough day.
We'll make this
Yeah, you will. Absolutely. Okay. Let's move into the lightning round. These
Ooh.
are questions that don't necessarily have anything to do with anything we're talking about, but they're fun. Speaking of having fun. All right, number 1. Are you ready?
Ready.
You got to go with your gut on this one.
Okay.
If you could be any animal other than a human, what would it be and why?
A rhino. And part of that is I pet a rhino in Kenya, Africa on a sourcing trip. And we got to pet him and feed him. And it was just one of those wild moments where you're just touching this really powerful
Very powerful.
animal. Plus, they kind of look like a strong unicorn.
Yeah.
Kind of here for it. Like they're just, I don't know. There's something about them that's like strength, resilience, determination that I think they're pretty cool.
Oh, a rhino is our living, breathing unicorn here on this earth.
It's like
Another
a deadlifts. I don't know. It just looks cool.
a unicorn that deadlifts. Seriously? I mean, that's you right there. Oh my gosh. Another reason to save the rhinos. That's what this segment is about.
Yes.
Okay, number 2. If you could get a drink with 2 people, dead or alive, who are they? And what would you say or ask them?
I think one would be my grandmother. Just even though I feel her and I feel connected to her,
Yeah.
it would be fun to sit down and have some deep conversations now that I'm older and in my 40s and on this journey. And I think the other one might be Louise Hay. I
Ooh.
really like her books, and I found a
Mm-hmm.
lot of her books to be very helpful. And she speaks a lot about this mind body connection. And I'd love to pick her brain a little bit. She's passed, but I think she would be a really fun one to connect with and have like some soul chats about this.
Your grandma and Louise Hay. What if the 3 of you were in a room together?
That would be cool.
I feel like, you know how we say the internet might explode? I feel like there might be a slight, explosion going on wherever you are in the world with them
It would be
in the
powerful.
best way. Yeah. Amazing.
Mhm.
Okay. Question 3. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely, yes.
This is a girl who knows her pizza.
Put it on my pizza. I'm here for it. Actually, I think it's hard to mess up pizza. I like all kinds, but
It is
yeah.
hard to mess up pizza. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's true. We were just in the Canary Islands, the Spanish, it's a Spanish territory, I guess. I don't even know what we call it. And the place we were staying didn't have the best walkability to restaurants. And we went to this restaurant that was an Italian restaurant, and it didn't have the best Google rating on it, but they had pizza. And I was like, I'm getting pizza because it's really difficult to mess up pizza. If they fail at their pizza, then they deserve their low Google rating. But it was delicious. It was amazing. So pizza
Love
it is.
good
Pineapple
pizza.
on pizza. We're doing it.
We're doing it.
All right. Number 4. I'm a fly on the wall on an average Friday night at your house. Keeping it clean. What do I see you doing? Or not. We can talk about anything here.
Man. Okay, so this is funny. A tradition in the Ricci house is we do Chipotle night. Friday night is always Chipotle night. So we pick up Chipotle and we usually have a movie night too. Like there's guac, there's chips and guac. Like it's a whole thing. It's quite fun. And it's our date night in, and anything can happen. We may be playing like Just Dance on the Wii. We may like anything can happen.
Of
So
course
it's
you are.
really fun. But we love a good Chipotle. We could be watching a Disney movie. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
But Chipotle and something fun is what goes down on Friday nights.
More fun at the Ricci house.
Yeah.
Amazing. With the side of Chipotle. Chipotle didn't pay us to say this.
No, they didn't. But oh man,
No.
I'd love for them to sponsor me. I do love the guacamole.
I feel like you should be sponsored by Chipotle for sure.
That would be, let's manifest that.
Also, we don't have a Chipotle in my little town, but I think I'll be having a burrito bowl for dinner tonight. Thank you for the inspiration.
Nice. Yeah. Burrito bowls.
100%. I'm flying solo tonight. My husband's going to be out of town, so that sounds perfect. All right, last question. What is a guilty pleasure or obsession of yours that people might find surprising, weird, quirky, or questionable?
Okay, I probably have a few. I love a good chocolate croissant. That's like
It's not weird.
Chocolate croissant. I seek them out. It's a thing. I also recently on this, right, doing more joy, doing more fun on this journey, I started reading for fun. And I got wrapped into, I kept seeing the ACOTAR books, the A Court of Thorn and Roses, all
Yeah.
over Instagram. People kept talking about that. I was like, I don't know. So I read the series. They're a little spicy. They're a little woo spicy, spicy. But it was so much fun to just read for enjoyment again. And now I'm reading all of the Throne of Glass series, less spicy than
Hmm.
the ACOTAR series, but it's just been fun to read for fun. And she has such powerful, strong female characters who eat chocolate cake and weightlift and do all these like fun things. Like they train. So I just feel connected to them. I'm like, you're basically eating a chocolate croissant and lifting like I am, and you're a warrior, and I'm here for it. My other, this is what my husband would answer for this question is I must have all the lights off. Like for it to be nighttime and sleep, the doors have to be closed. The lights have to be off. There can't be anything flashing, nothing like that. If we're in a hotel room, I cover it up with KT tape, like all the little lights in the hotel room so that it's dark. Mark is like, I didn't even see this. I'll have an eye mask on and be like, there's a light on over here. I'm getting the tape. I'm covering it up. And so it's got to be pitch black. The doors need to be closed and the sheets have to be untucked. I don't know how people
100%.
like untuck the sheets. I don't want to be like, no, I need to be free. It's pretty weird, but I do it.
Okay, first of all, I feel like there is a direct correlation between how bright your light shines inside of you and how little or how much you can pick up on even the tiniest bit of light outside of you. You heard it here first. This is my working theory. Now I'm going to go research it and prove it. Number two, I'm going somewhere with this, and I totally lost my train of thought. You said something about, oh shoot, I already forgot.
The sheets. Untucking
The
the sheets.
sheets. I'm adding that as a lightning round question. Sheets tucked in or sheets out? Which one?
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
And people have strong opinions about it.
Let's just say that on this conversation and corner of the internet, we are a sheets tucked out type of girl.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No judgment to anyone who sleeps with your sheets tucked in, but I do want to know how your ankles feel.
Exactly. Yeah, you can still be our friends. We're here for it, but my feet need to be free.
Yeah, my feet need. It's like the barefoot walking crowd, like no shoes.
Yeah.
I'm all about shoes, but like when sleeping, free your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag free the feet. That's our next movement. Amazing. Well, I'm so glad we had some laughs, and it has been so beautiful to go through the alchemy of your from pain to purpose journey and how you give back to so many people and like are the wounded healer, like really just going first bravely, not on purpose, but just modeling for us all of that kind of thing, and how being in that process has helped you really embrace your intuition, your spiritual gifts, and how you really lead others in a very unexpected career path for yourself, and how you've tapped into joy and play as an essential ingredient to your well-being. So beautiful through such a, sink and swim process, just to bring it back to the theme of this podcast. Tell us what's next for you. How do we connect with you? All those kind of things.
I'm in all the places at Dr. Laura Ricci. It's just at DrLaura I'm the most fun on Instagram.
She is the most fun.
But I am fun on YouTube and on Facebook and all those places, or my website's drlauraricci.com. And next up, I love to continue to educate, to support people, to kind of take people along the journey with us. So we are teaching a bunch of classes on different topics on essential oils. And we have an upcoming one next week on the 21st.
We're going to air this after that.
The 20th. So the replay will be on YouTube.
Oh, perfect. Even better.
Come and find it, all about women's health, pelvic floor, and essential oils, which will be kind of cool. But if anybody wants to come and join us, we're also doing a 90-day reset. using some doTERRA supplements and products to just kind of help support you in your life. And that'll be going on for 3 months. You can jump in at any time. But if you've been feeling just a little, like you need a little bit of support, maybe you need a little gut health support or just energy or the brain fog, or, I'm in perimenopause now. I just turned 40, and I do these about once or twice a year,
Mm.
and it's quite lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I do just notice you may get an urge to declutter your house. That's what I started doing when I
Yeah.
started this. Your hair may grow more, your fingernails may grow, like some fun things may happen. You just never know. But I find when we support and kind of cleanse the body, like it helps us emotionally, spiritually, like in other ways too, which is kind of fun. So that's kind of coming up for us too. But really, we're just, I'm just here for the ride. I love to connect with people and support and provide some value. Whether you purchase an essential oil from me or you never purchase an essential oil from me, my goal is that by coming to my little neck of the woods, my little corner on Instagram, that I provide value to your life in some way. So just come over and say hello. We'd love to
Love
have
it.
you.
Go say hello to Dr. Laura Ricci on Instagram. She is the most fun. I mean, she's the most fun in person, actually. I can attest to that. If you're ever driving west or east through Texas, hit her up. but but such a joy to be able to share your story here and also to know you. So thank you for being here, and y'all go check her out, and we'll have to have you back and hear what the next leg of the journey is for you.
Oh
See
my
what evolves
gosh.
next.
Yeah, I love it. Always a pleasure, Julie. You are such a fun person to connect with and
Thank
hang out.
you.
And just, you're good for the soul.
Thank you. Thank you.